Hello, Roadrunner Freight drivers, independent contractors. This is Frank Hurst. Welcome to the first edition of Got Your Ears On. Today I've got with me Adam Diercks, our Senior Vice President of Line Haul and Network Planning. And we thought we'd spend some time on a regular basis reviewing some questions that come to me in the Ask Frank at RTS mailbox, as well as what's on your mind, as well as with some updates from the company. So the first order of business today is last week I sent a video that introduced David Ross, as well as talked about the new network changes as we simplify the network. So I think, Adam, probably the first question was, we reduced the one-way lanes that we had. We're looking at paring down, simplifying the network. Can you walk us through kind of the five-stage approach of reorganizing the line haul network?
Sure. Thanks, Frank. Yeah, as Frank said, there's 5 steps to this overall network redesign approach. The first one, as Frank mentioned, was eliminating the one-way destinations. Now, a lot of those might have been stops along the way. Some might have been destinations en route to a final terminal. But what we found was those one-way destinations really absorbed a lot of your time and a lot of our resource, and it just wasn't worth maintaining in the network anymore. So the second step is, once we define the places we want to be, it's important to define how big we want our footprint to be. And an example of that is, we know we want to go to Texas, but we need to determine which areas in Texas we still want to service, be it Austin, Laredo, Dallas, Houston, etc. So now that we've determined how big we want our P&D footprints to be, we can now determine the freight flow, and that's step 3. Of all the places we pick up freight and the places we deliver freight, we now need to determine how do we want that to move through our system and what's the most efficient and effective way to get it to our customers. Because that sets up step 4. And step 4 is really where it gets exciting for everybody. That's the scheduled, structured network that's going to start to run on a clock with predictability. And the reason that's important is, not only are we going to be able to tell a customer when we pick up freight, when it's going to deliver, and every step it should be in along the way, but really more importantly, it's going to provide a predictable schedule for our independent contractors as well as outside purchase power providers. So this now gives you predictable miles and a schedule that you can knowingly run for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out in advance, and plan your home time and plan your miles accordingly. So once we get through step 4, step 5 is all about matching resources to the need. So we know that we have a lot of independent contractors that want to run specific lanes. Step 5 is where we're going to find which lanes do they want to run, which lanes do we have available, and now for those that don't have a match, that's when we're going to go out to the market and find purchase power to backfill those lanes. But the real important takeaway here is we're always going to have a need for ad hoc dispatch. That means that 80-20 rule, right? So 80% of the time, this freight is going to be moving on a predictable schedule, but based on freight volume levels and seasonality, there's always going to be a need to plan additional loads and things that are out of the ordinary. So we're always going to need people to want to run in different lanes and go explore parts of the country. So don't take that away either.
Wow, so it sounds like step 1, remove the one-way dispatches, which is more consistency, less deadhead, no backhauls and so forth, really streamline, improve the efficiency of the network. And then step 2, really defining who we want to be. And then 3, 4, and 5 are how do we assign the right drivers to the right lanes, get schedules and cut times in the network. Yep. Exciting stuff.
Yes, sir, that's right.
One of the things we set up is how important it is to get suggestions from our people about ways we can improve the network, suggestions, questions, and so forth. So with Got Your Ears On, we thought this was a great time to me to go to the Ask Frank inbox and see what's on your mind from questions that we have from other independent contractors and drivers. So Adam, the first question, what is Roadrunner doing to improve the communication with 24/7 breakdown, especially on the weekends?
Sure, that's a good question, Frank. And believe it or not, it's something we hear a lot about. Well, what we're doing is kind of a twofold approach. One, we're hiring. We're looking for at least 2 more individuals to staff our 24/7 line. But it should be known, we're not just throwing people at a problem. We're actually looking at our hour-by-hour, day-by-day volumes, and we're going to staff accordingly to maximize the hours available to the time when people are calling in. But it's something that we've heard a lot of, and we're actively addressing it.
It's a great question. Number 2, when is Roadrunner considering another IC Roundtable? Those were really popular that we had obviously during COVID, and we had to pull them back to a virtual event, but when's the next one on the schedule?
Sure, that's very timely. The next one is coming up here in just a few weeks at the end of the month. It's going to be another virtual session. for obvious reasons with COVID and CDC guidelines, but we want to make sure to actively engage as many members of the contractor fleet out there. So there'll be more communication coming out, I believe, later this week, but plan towards the end of April. And also, just putting this feeler out there, we're planning on doing it on a much more frequent basis and rotating between town halls and contractor roundtables.
Great. All right, thanks, Adam. All right, I'm going to go externally for this one. This is a great question. What is Roadrunner's plan to control the post-trip process and especially address some of the issues we have around trailer maintenance? So with that, I want to go to Mike Grima, our Vice President of Maintenance and Safety. Mike, would you take this one for us?
Thanks, Frank. Let me take the post-trip question first. What we've done is we've put in place an electronic pre- and post-trip through OmniTracks that's monitored daily by the maintenance department. And when issues are documented and repairs are needed, we communicate that to the local terminal and advise them of the repairs that are needed. If they are non-critical repairs and repairs that can be delayed or deferred to the PM, then we defer them in dossier, track them, and when the unit comes due for service, the repairs are made at that time and cleared from the docket. Now let me address the trailer maintenance question. The trailer maintenance has been an issue for our ICs, for our terminals, and of course for myself, trying to get in front of this for the last almost 3 years now. What we are doing is we're building into the infrastructure inspectors at our 4 main locations: Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas, and Commerce. As the trailers come in, we will inspect the trailers for any DOT violation, any maintenance issue that needs to be addressed. They'll take on the same protocol as with the pre- and post-trip, and if it is a critical event, or if it is something that might cause damage to our customer's freight, for example, a hole in the roof, we'll place the unit out of service and get it repaired before it's allowed to dispatch. We have an inspector hired and inspecting the equipment already in Commerce, California. We're interviewing currently for Atlanta, Dallas, and Chicago. As well, when there are non-critical events that need to be repaired, we will, if necessary, do a temporary repair on the vehicle to allow it to go, and then we will track it in dossier so when it comes due for its service, which is done every 90 days, we will have those repairs made as well. On top of this, I have Goodyear going into our locations. Some they go in weekly, some they go in monthly, and they do tire inspections to help improve our tire condition for our ICs. They do what we call a blue dot bump, and they go in and they'll check the condition of the tire as well as the amount of air in the tires to ensure the driver has a good unit when they leave our yards. And finally, with regard to the condition of the trailers and what we're doing to improve the condition, on the operations side, we have hostler drivers that hook to these trailers and move them to the dock. Mike Moss is working on the operations side to improve the performance of our hostler drivers, whereas they inspect the tires, the lights, the doors before that trailer is moved to the dock and report any issues so they can be repaired before loading. The loaders, as they're driving on the trailer and loading it, if they see any issues or when they're unloading it, will report to the supervisor so that the interior repairs can be made as well. As we couple all these moving pieces together, it's going to strengthen our position and give us a better overall product for our ICs, for our customers, and for operations.
Great, thanks, Mike. As you can see, a lot of work is underway, especially on the maintenance and the safety piece of our business to improve the trailing fleet, as well as address pre- and post-trip inspections, logging violations, as we get ready for the ever so important safety week that's coming up. The next question is, what is Roadrunner doing to improve our fuel discounts? Adam?
Sure, that's another great question. Fuel is something we hear a lot about. It should be noted that this year we made the strategic decision to partner with TA Petro. So when we brought our fuel out to bid, we brought it to all the fuel providers, and some participated at various levels, and TA Petro came back with the most aggressive rates. Now, the reason I want to call that out is although Love's still shares some discounts directly with independent contractors, that discount is not sanctioned or agreed upon between Love's and Roadrunner Freight. What that means is it could be gone at any day. So what we ask is continue to fuel at your TA and petrol locations. As we get gallons increased with that provider, we can ensure that we're going to maintain our fuel discount.
Great, thanks, Adam. I thought this is another really great question. Can Roadrunner advise and help to improve fuel economy and cost? And with that, I'm going to go to a good friend of Roadrunner's, Jim Flowers. Jim speaks a lot to the orientation classes with new independent contractors. Jim, would you mind answering this for our drivers? What can we do to improve fuel economy overall?
Sure, Frank, I could do that. I love talking about saving money. There's two big categories that I'd like to think of how to save on our fuel costs. Two of them are from the outside, and several are from the inside. The first one of all, of course, is the tires. Keeping your tires at the right inflation is going to save the biggest amount of money that you can by percentage. Up to 5% by keeping your tires inflated correctly. And I don't mean they sound good. I mean they're accurately gauged by either yourself or someone at a Speedco or the Loves so that they represent the correct amount of air pressure. On your steers, with modern tires, you should have at least 110. Back here at the fifth wheel, look how dry this puppy is. And listen to this. You hear that? That's friction. Friction is an enemy to economy. Friction has to be overcome by your horsepower to make a turn, to make a lane change, or just react to the wind, because now there's more friction between your fifth wheel and your trailer. So lubricate your fifth wheel. Here's the go button of the truck, your throttle. And how you use that throttle is going to affect your economy a lot. I was taught to think of your throttle as having an egg underneath it. You don't want to break that egg. You want to ease into the throttle when you need extra power. But then again, if you just slam on it, oops, you're going to have a problem and you're going to be wasting money. Let's go upstairs. Now everyone knows that using this little thing here called a cruise control is going to help in your fuel economy and also keeping that speedometer at the lowest possible mile per hour that you could tolerate to get the job done. But here's another little known fact, and that's finding the sweet spot between your engine. And that spot is usually between your peak torque, which on this truck is 1200, and your peak horsepower, which is 1600. So the middle portion of that between these two is 1400. You keep your truck operating at that sweet spot of 1400, no matter what gear it's going to be on your top side, that's going to be your most fuel efficient gear and fuel efficient RPM rating. So there you go. 5 separate little things that you can do for better fuel economy. That's going to make you a whole lot more money and actually put a raise in your pocket.
Great, thanks, Jim. You know, it's one thing for Adam and I to answer questions about the fleet, but we can hear from one of our own, Jim Flowers, tell us what he personally does to improve fuel economy, reduce his costs, and really improve his operating business. I thought was really powerful. So thanks, Jim, for your comments. The next question is, are there any plans to address the service center in the Atlanta facility? I would say yes. There are really 2 locations that are on our radar. Number one is a facility to replace our Miraloma service center in Southern California. Southern California is our number 1 market. We're going to continue to invest in that market. We've just renewed the lease for our Commerce facility, and we're looking to add additional capacity outbound for Miraloma. The second location is Atlanta. Think about our focus as a long-haul metro-to-metro service provider. Atlanta is a huge market for us. So we're currently in the process of looking at build-to-suit and additional facilities that are in the market today in Atlanta, and really excited about getting back to more of a cross-dock network where it's freight in and freight out, focused on cut times, service and quality to our customers, and a really improved product for our independent contractors and drivers as well. So another maintenance suggestion, particularly for new ICs. Can Roadrunner provide periodic and consistent communication around maintenance issues and tips, i.e. tire pressure and rotation, engine overhead intervals, coolant, HVAC, hoses, belts, and so forth? That is a fantastic suggestion, and we will ensure that we provide written communication as well as verbally through your fleet coordinators, and hopefully some of these topics that can come up during the Got Your Ears On session like we're doing today. Okay, I think the final question is obviously always a hot topic, especially as strong as a spot market is, the truckload market today. But Adam, are there any rate adjustments coming future with Roadrunner Freight, and how do you view the spot market today?
Sure, that's another question that we get a lot of, Frank. Thank you. The rate, the spot market right now, and the rates in the market are unlike ever before. What we've seen, really since the start of the pandemic, was a really tight market where drivers are a valuable resource, and it is absolutely a carrier market. Now, as we went deeper into the pandemic and we started 2021, there was a little event that started earlier this year with some weather that rolled through a great portion of the entire network. And when we watched rates, what we saw was the end of February, beginning of March, rates came up and they never came back down in the market. So when we talk about what are we doing to address rates internally, well, I want to make sure we put that in the right frame. We did take the most aggressive rate in Roadrunner history at the start of this year. So we want to make sure that's in context, that we tried to get in front of this thing, not really knowing where the market's going to go. However, we're not going to stop there. We're currently reviewing all of our rates and our entire sell to the independent contractor fleet. So it's important to recognize, I like to say we're not going to chase shiny objects. We can always try to match rates and chase some of the competitors out there, but everybody has a great rate in one lane and they're just going to hide it in other lanes. So it's more important for us to go out and really understand the value of the entire sell. And that's everything from the equipment to the rates, to the miles that you get, to the discounts. And when we feel like we have an advantage in the market, that's when we're going to know we're in the right place. But if we know we still have a disadvantage and there's more we need to do, that's the approach we're taking. So what I would say is stay tuned. We're going through a pretty deep analysis right now. We hope to have something figured out here within the next couple months.
Great, thanks, Adam. Exciting time. So we're simplifying the network. We're making scheduled runs for our drivers to make more predictability in your business, and at the same time reducing downtime, backhauls, and we're reviewing the entire, I wouldn't say just the mileage rate, but the entire package and contract overall. So thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking time to listen to us today. As always, if you have questions, suggestions, or ideas, please send them to askfrank@rrts.com, and we will answer those questions as we continue this the video conference that we have of Got Your Ears On. Thanks so much. Please be safe. Have a great day, and keep shipping it like you own it.
I've got one other suggestion out there, just a feedback for all the independent contractors. You have Frank Hurst and Adam Diercks here talking to you in a little segment we're calling Got Your Ears On, but we can't go by our normal names. So what I'm looking for is you give us our CB handles. It needs to be something appropriate, but should be something that's a little lighthearted and fun too. So give us your suggestions, and maybe we'll kick it back to the fleet and see which one wins.
I like it. Can't wait. So we Got Your Ears On. We got our own CB handle, so it should be a lot of fun. Thanks so much.